Hey guys, Kamal here once again. So today we're going to create this. Well, since you've already seen what we are going to create, let's just see what are the components that we are going to use to make that. Okay, so to create this, we are going to need 5 components. One is the box, like this one, the div that we are going to use to place all the components inside of it and center that div in the center of the screen. Okay, then we are going to need the header. This is this welcome back text. Then one input field, one icon, that is one pair. Then another input and another icon, that's another pair. Okay, then we are going to need a button. Okay, so we are going to need only 5 components: the box, the header, the input fields and the icons, totally 2. Let's just assume that one input and one icon as a pair, so that's 1, so that's 4, and lastly the icon, not icon, sorry, the link. That's the button, login button. Okay, so that's 5 components. Okay, then let's jump into my code editor to create that. Okay, so before starting, I have already imported the Font Awesome library here, and I'll leave the link in the description below. And all of the code that I'm going to create in this video will be available in the description below, and all the images will be there as well. Like, I'm going to add the GitHub link there, so you can directly go to my GitHub account and download all the source code and all the images and all the assets that you want. Everything's free and you can use it anywhere you want. Okay, so well, I've said that we are going to need to create a box, right? So I'm going to create a div with the name of box. So instead of that box, we are going to first add the header, the h1 tag, and the text is gonna be welcome back. Okay, so, and in this video I'm going to use CSS Grid to style this. So I'm assuming that you know a bit of CSS Grid as well. Even if you don't know, just follow along. I think you will be able to understand it a bit. Okay, so since we are going to use CSS Grid here, I'm going to divide each of these into divs so that when we are trying to use that CSS Grid, it's going to be quite easy to divide the whole page into grids, and that's rows and columns. Okay, so we have to create an input field and icon, right? So I'm going to use a class of typing here. That's a div of typing, and inside of that I'm going to add 2 divs. One is for the first one, the first pair, right? The first icon and the first input, that's one pair. And the second div is for the second icon and second input, that's another pair. So totally we have 2 pairs. So I'm going to place this 2 into individual divs, and those 2 divs inside of this typing class. Okay, so I'm gonna name the div to be, let's say, type input or something like that. Okay, instead of this div, I'm gonna add the icon first. Okay, so I have it here, I'm gonna paste it here. So this is the user icon. Then next we are going to add the input field. Since it's for username and email, we are going to leave it at text. And since the user can use his username or email, we are going to add a placeholder here. Okay, that's done. Now similarly we are going to create another div. Let's just copy it and paste it here. Okay, so I'm gonna add the icon now. The second icon is gonna be the lock icon. Just paste it here. This lock icon, that's gonna be the second one. And as for this, I'm going to use password here, right? So password, and the type will be password as well. Yep, that's done. Now finally we need to add the link as well. So normally I don't think you can use links inside of forms. Like if you're trying to create a form which will take some input and do something in the background, then normally you would place a button here, but I don't think you can use a link to do that, because I've tried it and I don't think I have any case where it does work. So when you're trying to create a form that will take an input and will do some scripting in the background, like an input form, sorry, not input form, login form or a sign up form, any of those forms will normally have a button there. Well, since we are trying to create a static website here, I'm going to use a link. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so that's it for the HTML. Let's jump into CSS now. Yeah, before that, let's just save it and open it to see what we have. That's actually quite plain, right? Okay, so let's add the style part. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now let's go for the CSS. Okay, so I normally prefer adding the background first, but for this case I'm going to use the font. Okay, I'm going to change the font family. And if you were wondering what the star is, this asterisk, not asterisk, star, I don't know if it's asterisk. Okay, so when you're trying to add a property to every other element present inside of the HTML page, you can use this star to indicate that this property will be assigned to every element present inside of the web page. Okay, so I'm going to add the font family first. So now let's go for the body. So now we need to change the background. Okay, so I have the background already here. As I said earlier, you can take this background from my GitHub page. You can directly go there and download it there. I have actually edited a bit, but I think it will be good. It's your wish. You can use any other image you want. Okay, so let's see it here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I have added the background and remove the margin for the body as well. Remember, if you're trying to create a web page, an official web page or any other web page, remove the margin for the body first. Okay, so normally when I create a website, I normally encounter a problem there when I'm trying to align things. Because of that margin, there's going to be a bit of problem for you. So remember to remove that, and it's going to be quite useful for you in the long run. Okay, so I've removed the repeat property here so that there's no repeat in the background. And the sizes for cover, you can use contain, but I prefer using cover. Now let's go for the div. Okay, we have the div called box, right? So let's place the box at the center of the screen. Okay, so that's done. Now let's add a bit of border as well. So yeah, actually I've removed the link from the div, so I need to correct that first. See that? Okay, so that's done. Okay, so now let's add a bit of border to identify that. Okay, you can say that, right? Yeah. Now we need to place this icon straight. So as I said earlier, I'm going to use CSS Grid here. So I'm going to first divide this whole box into rows. So I'm going to create 3 rows here. One is for the header, second and one is for this input fields, and the third one is for the button. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so now we need to place the elements, right? So I'm going to take the h1 tag and justify it to the center. Okay, so now we need to, I forgot, actually I have to add a border radius, right? I forgot about that. Okay, so that's done. Now we need to, okay, so I'm going to take the second div. We actually named it to be typing, right? So I'm going to take that div and again divide it using CSS Grid into 2 rows. Okay, this will divide the whole thing into like 2 fractions. One is for this one and one for this one, and this grid gap is going to add a bit of gap between these 2 rows instead of the typing class. Okay, so now we need to go for individual classes. Okay, I'm going to take the second div that we have here, not the second div, third div. We actually named it to be text input, right? That class is for the 2 inputs, and like the input and the icon pairs, that's the same class for both of those. So I'm going to take that div and that class property, and I'm going to add a property which will divide it into 2 columns this time, not rows but columns. Okay, okay, so that's done, right? Now we need to change the input properties for this, not input properties, the input fields and the icon as well. We need to align it and we need to increase its size as well. So let's do that. Okay, so we have done that. Now we need to align the, not align, we need to change the width and height of the inputs as well, input fields. So let's do that. Now we are going to go for the login button here, this link. Okay, okay, so now we need to add the hover effect for the icon first, sorry, not the icon, the link first, and for the box as well. Okay, so now let's see this. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. Please hit the like button if you like this video and don't forget to subscribe as well. And thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.